Welcome into the Steelers Talk live show here on a beautiful Monday evening. Thank you to all the real ones showing up at the beginning of today's live program. We got a bunch of Steelers content coming your way here over the next hour or so. First up, I'm going to tell you guys how Aaron Rodgers and the whole Rodgers situation here can affect the Pittsburgh Steelers draft plans here in just 10 days' time. Just 10 days till we get going at the 2025 NFL Draft in Green Bay. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're going to have extensive coverage of the Steelers draft this year. Then our second segment today, I'm going to be breaking down some nickel cornerback draft targets. This is a need that I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to address at some point during the NFL draft this year. And I'm going to be breaking down my favorite prospects at that specific position for our second segment today. And now I would like to welcome back our beloved producer, Mr. Coop is back. Everybody get those towels rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Coop is back from his 2 trips, first to London, then New Orleans. How were your trips? Do you feel refreshed? And are you ready to talk some Steelers football?
We had a great time. I am refreshed. I'm ready to go. It's draft season. 10 days away is the NFL draft. And we still don't know who the hell the Steelers starting QB is going to be.
I mean, we were joking.
What a joke.
I mean, we were joking that there's no way Rodgers was not going to sign with the Steelers by the time you got back.
And here we are.
And now apparently he wanted to wait for you to get back here, Coop. So we'll see what ends up happening.
I think he's waiting until after the draft.
Yeah, I think you and I are both agreement on that. Where I think that he's probably waiting if he's still interested in being a Steeler. He still wants to get some sort of information from the draft, whether we'll talk about what he could be looking for on our first segment today, but it definitely seems like we're not going to get a decision from Rodgers before the draft unless the Steelers force his hand, and even then, I don't think that's exactly what Rodgers would want.
It does feel like the Steelers are content to wait until at least after the draft. I'm sure they have a self-imposed deadline, whenever that may be, but I don't think it's this week.
I don't think it's this week either. I think they're going to wait until sometime. It might be at the draft. They might say you have to be signed on by the draft or taking a quarterback, and we're done with you. It might be slightly after the draft. I think that's what's smart. All right, like if he's not on your team by May, he doesn't want to play for you. All right.
When the first round of OTAs begin, which I guess is May, right?
Yeah, you would want him there. So I would say that's around the time where I think the Steelers would probably back out. But if they don't have Aaron Rodgers on the roster come draft day, unless they have some sort of handshake agreement that he'll sign with the team if they don't take a quarterback round 1, I think you really got to think about taking a quarterback that you really believe in to be your long-term answer at the position.
Do you believe that the Saints are now an option?
For Rodgers?
Yeah.
No, they're not even close. That's the thing. Their roster's not that good. They have a new head coach. I just don't see the Saints being a legitimate option. I think if he's waiting for a team, it's either the Vikings or the 49ers, West Coast style offense. We'll see if the McCarthy or Purdy situations kind of devolve. But if he's waiting for a situation that's not the Steelers, I think it's probably Minnesota or San Francisco. But if you ask me, that's not a good bet if you're Aaron Rodgers.
I'd agree.
I'd say there's a less than 5% chance that either of those jobs open up this offseason. So no one knows what Aaron Rodgers is thinking right now, but it's definitely not looking great if you're hoping that he's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Before we get into our content today here, guys, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Game Time. And the NBA playoffs are getting started. And if you want to experience the energy and the stakes of playoff basketball this year live, you can get great seats at guaranteed low prices with our friends at Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier to any event you go see, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. The Cleveland Cavaliers have locked up the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference this year, heading into the postseason, and you can experience their playoff run in the weeks to come. And it's just over a 2-hour drive from Pittsburgh to Cleveland. So if you want to experience kind of the energy and the stakes of playoff basketball, you can get your tickets now on Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. If you guys want to get a topic that you want me and Coop to discuss on today's show, you guys can send in a donation. I just see Just Webb's World just got a $2 super chat in there. We'll break that down here in just one moment. But if you guys want to send in a question, if you have a comment, if you want to tell Rodgers to F off, you guys can send in that super chat or Venmo or Cashapp or PayPal, and we'll make sure to get that question on today's show. If you guys want to send in a donation to Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, we'll actually double your raffle tickets for the Steelers jersey raffle. We're gonna be giving away once Aaron Rodgers makes a final decision, whether that's to the Steelers, or if he decides not to come to the Steelers, we'll go live once that final decision is made. And we'll give away a Steelers jersey on that stream. So make sure you go at Jack-Sperry on Venmo, # Captain Jack 19 on Cash App, or at Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal for double your raffle tickets. All right, a $20 donation on Super Chat gets you one raffle ticket. A $20 donation on Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal gets you 2 tickets. So greatly appreciate all of your guys' support. Without you guys, we wouldn't have this channel where it is right now. $2 from my man Just Webb's World. It's been a while since we've seen Just Webb's World. Coop, shout out to Just Webb's World. Says Shadur Sanders. Maybe we don't beg in Pittsburgh Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, man. I think that Rodgers has clearly been Mike Tomlin's number 1 QB target on the veteran free agency market. That's been obvious since the start. They only offered Justin Fields $15 million per season. That's Daniel Jones level money. They didn't really want him back that bad. Same thing with Russell Wilson. They didn't really want him back either. They wanted Aaron Rodgers from the start. And, because of that, I think they're going to be willing to wait, quite a long time. Now, how long is a long time? That's the question. For me, I would be willing to wait until the end of the month, all right? That's the end of the month of April. That gives you 4 days after the NFL draft to make your final decision, Aaron, because if he hasn't made that decision by 4 days after the NFL draft,
move on. He's
not going to get any new information, Coop, that's going to make him want to become a Steeler, right? Maybe he wants to wait until the NFL draft to make sure, make sure they take a non-quarterback in round 1, not fall into a Kirk Cousins situation. Maybe he just wants to see everybody that they take in the draft to see, what the situation's going to look like. Maybe he wants to make sure they don't trade George Pickens away. He doesn't want to sign on, and then at the NFL draft, they trade George Pickens, they draft his replacement at quarterback, he signs a 2-year deal, and next year he doesn't get to control his own destiny. Maybe that's the reason why he's waiting. But if it's 4 days after the draft and he still hasn't agreed to sign on, he's looking for a different opportunity, and I think that's when I tell him to go kick rocks. $2 from Justin Watson. My man Justin says, this QB class is awful. No reason to reach in round 1. I would say this. I don't think you reach on a quarterback, but if there's a quarterback that you believe in, all right, if there's somebody that this coaching staff really believes in, if you don't have Rodgers, this is a team that's trying to win now, and Mason Rudolph, in my opinion, isn't a short or a long-term option for this team. All right, I think that Mason can maybe start the season as your bridge starter, but this is a team that wants to win now, and if you don't have Rodgers, I think what they're probably going to do is they're going to probably trade for Kirk Cousins eventually, and then they're going to try to get their quarterback at some point, they're going to get the quarterback that they believe can be a long-term option, all right, for them, whether that's Shadur Sanders if he's available, whether that's Jackson Dart if he's available, whether that's Tyler Shuck out of Louisville. Whoever their guy is, I think that they're going to want to go get their guy that can potentially be a long-term option. Kirk Cousins can kind of battle it out with Mason Rudolph for the right to be the week 1 quarterback. They might trade a conditional 6th or 5th round pick in exchange for Cousins. At the very least, I think Kirk could be a pretty decent mentor for the rookie that you bring in. But it's not the greatest situation in the world if Rodgers doesn't sign on. Gary says, Rodgers, F off. Steelers don't negotiate with terrorists. Will with Mason and draft Shuck, sign Watt. Yeah, man. If they end up doing that, if they end up trading down, taking Tyler Shuck, I think Shuck is a lot better than people give him credit for because of the age thing, because of the injury history, and those are legitimate concerns. But just based on the film, guys, as somebody that's watched the film on all these guys, I'm telling you right now, Tyler Shuck is the second best film out of any quarterback in this class. Only one that I think has better film coming into this next season is Cam Ward. All right, so if you want somebody that's more pro-ready, if you want somebody with a big arm and some pretty decent upside, if I'm being completely honest with you, I kind of like Tyler Shuck out of Louisville, especially if you can trade down and get an extra day 2 pick instead of having to trade up for Shadur or staying put for Jackson Dart. I think that there's other options out there, and it's. I think everybody has a different opinion on who they want at that position, but if Rodgers doesn't sign on, it's definitely not a great situation here in Pittsburgh. So, okay, before we get into our first segment here, guys, I want you guys to let me know if you've liked the video. Spam those me's in the chat for some shout-outs here to start today's show. We've already got 232 people watching live, but only 30 likes. We need to get this up to 50 likes before we get into our first segment today. So spam those me's. I got Gary, I got Jay, I got Donna, I got Daniel, I got Greg, I got Daryl, I've got Harold, I got Kevin, I got Chris, Chuck Dugan has liked the video. Keep spamming those like buttons. It helps out the channel, guys. We got Tarvarius, we got Travis, we got Jeff, we got Night Guy, Edward, Hollip, Catherine, Nick, Cassie's in the chat. Everybody say hi to Cassie. We got Daniel Porter, Michael, Colby Wolf. Got a good crew. Pittsburgh fan 412 is here. What's up, 412? Good to see you. We got over 50 likes here, guys. So one more super chat, then we'll get into our first segment today. It says, being friend zoned by Rodgers makes me sick. Yeah, man. Like right now, I think that there's two possibilities for what's happening. Rodgers either wants to get, whatever information he needs to get from the draft, whatever that is, or he doesn't want to play for the Steelers. I think those are the only two things that make sense right now. Either he needs more information about what this team's going to look like next year via the draft. Maybe he wants to see what running back they get. Maybe they want to see if they trade George Pickens and bring in another receiver. He wants to know what this roster looks like before he signs on. So maybe that's what he's waiting for. But it's also a possibility he just doesn't want to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. We're going to be breaking down the entire Rodgers situation and how it affects the Steelers' draft plans. I'll let you guys know my thoughts on the top Steelers quarterback draft targets early on in the NFL draft if Rodgers doesn't sign on. Then we'll get into my nickel cornerback draft targets for you guys to consider in your Steelers mock drafts in the weeks to come. So without further ado, Coop's giving me the thumbs up sign here. So let's get into our first segment today, how Aaron Rodgers and that whole saga affects the Steelers draft plans this year. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today we're going to be breaking down the dynamic that Aaron Rodgers and this entire saga is really playing on the Pittsburgh Steelers draft strategy and their draft plans, as now we're just 10 days away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft in Green Bay. Before we get into today's content, make sure you predict it for me down there in the comments section right now. Will Aaron Rodgers be a Steeler in 2025? Give me a yes or a no. I would say at this point, every day that he doesn't sign on, the chances get lower and lower and lower. Okay, guys, so when it comes to the Aaron Rodgers saga here, I think that unless Pittsburgh forces his hand and forces him to make a decision before the NFL draft, I don't see Rodgers making that decision before the Steelers end up making their first-round selection in Green Bay in just 10 days' time. So as a Steelers fan, get comfy because I don't think that this thing is ending this week. I think that it's going to be more towards draft week and maybe even a couple days after the NFL draft before we get a final decision in terms of whether Aaron Rodgers will be a Steeler next season. And the reason why Rodgers might be waiting for the NFL draft here, guys, is because maybe he feels like that he needs more information to make this decision. And, I do think that, if he felt like he had enough information to make this decision, he would have already made it, whether that was a decision to retire or whether that was a decision to join the Pittsburgh Steelers. He hasn't made that decision yet. And the only way that Rodgers can get more information about the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025 in terms of their roster is via the NFL draft this year, because that's kind of the last point where the Steelers make significant additions to their roster where they could potentially trade guys like George Pickens. We'll talk about that here in a little bit here. But the reason why Rodgers may be waiting for the NFL draft is because he may want to see exactly what the roster looks like. Like maybe he doesn't really want to sign on to the Pittsburgh Steelers if they're going to draft a quarterback in round 1 instead of a player that's going to help them win with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he wants to sign a 2-year deal, but he doesn't want them to take his eventual replacement in round 1 if he's going to sign on to a 2-year deal. Like there's certain things that he could be looking at here. The first question here that Rodgers could be looking at is, will the Pittsburgh Steelers hold on to George Pickens? Because like I said, guys, he might want to know exactly which weapons he's working with. Maybe he doesn't want to sign on to the Steelers, and then boom, they trade George Pickens away, and all of a sudden Rodgers is like, hey, I was excited to play with George Pickens. Now he's not here. And that might be a situation that he doesn't really love. Then the second question here when it comes to Rodgers is, will Pittsburgh take a quarterback in round 1? And that might be something that is on Rodgers' mind, and especially if he wants to sign a 2-year deal and have the Steelers make a 2-year commitment to him, I can't imagine that he would absolutely love the Steelers taking a quarterback to replace him instead of drafting a player that can help him win when he is the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers in round 1 this year, kind of avoiding the situation that Kirk Cousins ran into last year where he signed a multi-year deal, and then the Falcons took a quarterback in round 1 to be the heir apparent. Cousins doesn't play up to snuff, and then he's still under contract there in Atlanta, and they are refusing to trade him away right now. They are holding him hostage, and maybe Rodgers is looking at that situation right now and saying, if I'm going to sign a 2-year deal with this football team here in the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't want to give the team that I'm signing with the power to hold me hostage the same way that Kirk Cousins is being held hostage in Atlanta right now. So could it be possible that Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers have already come up with some sort of handshake agreement here where he tells them, hey, if you don't take a quarterback in round 1, I will sign on to be the next Steelers starting quarterback after the NFL draft? Maybe that is a handshake agreement that the Pittsburgh Steelers have in place. It would certainly explain why the Steelers still feel like they're so confident that Rodgers is eventually going to choose to play for them in 2025. But at this point, that is all speculation. We do not know any specifics on that at this point. And, I think that the optimistic read when it comes to the Rodgers situation, if you want Rodgers here in Pittsburgh, is that he just wants to make 100% sure he knows what the roster looks like before he signs on and makes a significant commitment to the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. And I can understand that, but, really he only gets a couple days after the draft, in my opinion, to make that decision. He doesn't get a month. He doesn't get 2 months. He gets a couple days after the draft to look at the roster and say, do you want to play here? And if the answer is still no, by probably the end of the month, I'm probably moving on from the Aaron Rodgers saga if I'm Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin. But he may just not want to play for Pittsburgh. That's a very real possibility at this point. It's been reported by Albert Breer that he actually reached out to the Minnesota Vikings saying, I want to play for you guys during free agency. And of course, they decided not to go the Rodgers route, but maybe Rodgers is waiting on a potential setback in J.J. McCarthy's rehab. Maybe he's hoping McCarthy has a poor spring and the Vikings eventually decide to bring him in instead. Maybe he's hoping the Brock Purdy situation in San Francisco kind of turns sour and the San Francisco 49ers decide to trade away Brock Purdy. Who knows why Aaron Rodgers would not be signing on with the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point? But if I'm being honest with you guys, I could see it going either way. I can certainly understand, with this being probably the final time Rodgers chooses a team, that he would want to make absolutely sure he knows the roster that he's playing with. But I can also, see where he just doesn't want to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know for sure which one it is, but I would say those are probably the two best possibilities as to why Aaron Rodgers has not signed on to be a Pittsburgh Steeler at this point in time. So coming up here on Steelers Talk, I'm going to tell you guys how the Rodgers decision and how the Rodgers saga impacts the Pittsburgh Steelers draft strategy, specifically when it comes to the quarterback position. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor today, Mando Whole Body Deodorant. And spring is finally here, which means warmer weather, which means sweat. And to stay fresh during the warmer months this year, I trust Mando Whole Body Deodorant to keep me fresh whenever I'm taking the dog out for a walk or taking Cassie to a baseball game, which we love to do. Mando is safe to use anywhere on your body and is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Also, Mando's elite line of products are baking soda free, paraben free, and you can choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. You can find all of their products in major retailers such as Walmart and Target, but for the best deals, go to shopmando.com. And let me tell you guys, my favorite product from the Mando line is their body wash, which you guys can get with their brand new starter pack that you guys can get for $5 off when you use our code CHAT. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers because it comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like that mini body wash I mentioned, or their deodorant wipes are also very highly recommended. Plus you guys get free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code, which is promo code CHAT. That equates over to 40% off your starter pack when you use that code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando whole body deodorant today. So the way that the Aaron Rodgers saga impacts the NFL draft for the Steelers is that unless he has some sort of handshake agreement with the team like we discussed to sign on if they don't take a quarterback round 1 or whatever the agreement is, if Rodgers hasn't agreed to sign by the draft and the Steelers don't know what he's going to do by the first day of the NFL draft, you have to go quarterback early. Because Mason Rudolph, for as much as I appreciate Rudy, I don't think he's a short-term answer that can help you win a Super Bowl now, and I don't think he's a long-term answer where he's going to be your future franchise quarterback, all right? So if you don't have Rodgers, you do have to take a quarterback early, and if you do have Rodgers, absolutely, take a quarterback later in the draft. Wait for round 3, wait for round 4, wait for round 5 to take a guy like Jalen Milroe if he falls to you in round 3. Tyler Shuck, who's currently expected to be on the consensus board, he's expected to be around where the Steelers pick in the 3rd round. Will Howard out of Ohio State, Quinn Ewers and Kyle McCord, all expected to go either late day 2 or early day 3. Those could all be options for the Pittsburgh Steelers if they have Aaron Rodgers in the fold. But if you don't have Rodgers, you can't risk having him eventually sign on to the team if you don't have some sort of assurance that he is going to sign with the football team. And because Mason really isn't a short or long-term option, you might as well get somebody that could be a long-term option here in Pittsburgh, namely probably in the earlier round. So these are the 4 guys that are kind of linked to the Pittsburgh Steelers when it comes to a first-round selection. Shadur Sanders out of Colorado, Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss, Jalen Milroe out of Alabama, and Tyler Shuck out of Louisville. All these guys have had some reports that have been connected to the Pittsburgh Steelers in round 1 from one source or another. So today I'm going to be ranking these 4 quarterbacks in terms of my preferences as to which one the Steelers should go pursue in round 1. So let's start with Jalen Milroe at number 4. I included Milroe on my top 5 crash-out candidates this year because I would not be happy if the Steelers took Jalen Milroe in round 1, whether they have Rodgers or not, all right? Because if you do have Rodgers, then I can't imagine Aaron would be too happy with taking a quarterback that's going to sit 2 years and not help the football team win while he is the starting quarterback. And then even if you don't have Rodgers, you need somebody that's probably more ready to play right away, and Milroe just isn't that, in my opinion. I think he needs at least 1, but probably 2 years on the bench learning from a veteran before he's ready to assume the starting quarterback job for an NFL team. And listen, man, if you have Aaron Rodgers in the fold, especially if he's under like a 2-year contract and you take Milroe in round 3, I think that's an awesome situation for not only the Steelers, but also Jalen Milroe. He gets to learn from one of the most intelligent quarterbacks in football history. He doesn't have to have any pressure to play in those first 2 seasons of his NFL career. And then when Rodgers leaves, you got a guy in Milroe who's going to have 2 years under his belt, learning from one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, paired with some really great physical upside that could turn him into the next franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then number 3, I'm going to have Shadur Sanders 3rd on my list here, guys, especially because you probably have to trade up to go get him. And I don't want to give up extra draft capital for somebody like Shadur Sanders, who I'm not sure is a great fit for what the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for in their starting quarterback, especially if Rodgers is not here for 2025. I do not think Shadur Sanders' film is worth the hype, which is why I think we're seeing Shadur go from, number 2 overall pick going down to where he's almost expected to be down where the Steelers are picking at number 21. That fall is for a reason, guys, and that reason is people have turned on the film and they realize this guy isn't really all that great. You take a look here at my positives for him. I think he's got some really clean and quick throwing mechanics, okay? That's something that I really like in his game. You can tell he's well coached. He's also generally very accurate, especially to the short and intermediate levels of the field. He understands ball placement. He understands which shoulder to throw to against certain coverages, which is important Also, he's very tough in the pocket. He'll stand in there, and he will take a shot, and he will take a beating no matter how bad his pass protection is. And because of that, and the O-line play was so bad at Colorado, he's used to pressure. So early on in the NFL, he's going to be used to being under pressure a lot. That's not going to be a new experience for him. He's also an underrated playmaker outside of structure. He's underrated in terms of a thrower on the run. And then he's also got some pretty darn good downfield vision when he's outside of the pocket, and he is a scrambler. He's also RPO and SRO proficient, so the quick game stuff, the run-pass options, and the screen run options are certainly something that he's proficient in. They ran a lot of it at Colorado. He throws with good touch to the intermediate and sometimes to the deep level of the field, especially on inside fades. He's comfortable throwing the ball over the middle of the field. They ran a lot of bow and dagger concepts there at Colorado that really target the middle of the field. He's very comfortable running that type of stuff. And then he's used to the spotlight. I mean, obviously, this is a very high-level organization with a very scrutinous fan base. The Yinzers would not faze Shedeur Sanders, who has been in the spotlight his entire life. But the negatives, and there's quite a few negatives here, guys. I think that the offense there at Colorado was very college-esque. I don't know if he's ready to operate a pro-style offense day one. Then also below average NFL arm strength, which is going to kind of lower the margin for error. He's going to have to be an excellent mental processor, excellent anticipator, and excellent in terms of his accuracy to all three levels to survive as an NFL starter. I think his accuracy fades down the field, so he's not really a threat to throw the ball down the field. That's exactly what the Steelers want to do with DK Metcalf and George Pickens. Lack of anticipation paired with the below average arm strength could lead to interceptions. That's something that you really want to see more of on his film that just isn't there at Colorado. And because of that lack of anticipation, he's consistently late on film. He's got inconsistent pocket footwork. He likes to drift in the pocket. He'll drift into pressure and create sacks for himself. So even though the O-line play there at Colorado was bad, he created a lot of sacks for himself. He also holds the ball for too long, plays hero ball, doesn't get rid of the football when he needs to. Underwhelming athleticism, like defensive linemen can catch him from behind. He's not going to wow you with his rushing ability. And then a lack of overall star level upside. So when I take a look at a guy like Shedeur Sanders, guys, I think that, he's got a really bad combination. Like, he doesn't have enough mental processing, anticipation, and all that different stuff to be considered pro-ready, but he also doesn't have, like, the crazy arm talent. He doesn't have the dynamic playmaking ability. He doesn't have the dynamic rushing ability to be considered, like, a high upside type of player either. So he's somebody that's got limited upside, and he's not ready to play right away, and that's a bad combination if you are considered to be a round one quarterback prospect. And I think if his name was Shedeur Smith instead of Shedeur Sanders, and he wasn't the son of Dion, and if he wasn't on every commercial every college football Saturday the last 3 years, he'd be a mid-round quarterback, all right? And it's not to say that he has no positive qualities, but I think that, that he's got a bad combination of traits here where I just don't love the fit with the Pittsburgh Steelers in particular, because especially if you don't have Rodgers, you're going to be expecting Shedeur to probably play in his first year, and he has no experience playing under center. I don't think he has a great deep ball to target DK Metcalf and George Pickens with. And, I think that, if you're going to be asking him to play right away, I just don't know if he's exactly what the Steelers are looking for. And what makes it even worse is that the Pittsburgh Steelers would likely need to trade up for him. They'd have to give up extra draft capital to get somebody that's not really ready to play. He doesn't have star level upside. And he's not really a great fit for what the Steelers want to do offensively from a scheme perspective. So I'm sorry, man. I just don't see it with Shedeur Sanders. I know he's got the aura and all this different stuff, but I think there's better options out there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 2 on my list is Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss, and I'm not going to sit up here and say Jackson Dart's an awesome prospect. I really don't think he is. I think that he's got some good things on his tape, and he shows some upside here. He's certainly not a perfect prospect, but I would prefer him over Shedeur Sanders because I do think that he's got some qualities that the Steelers would be looking for that Shedeur maybe struggles with on his profile. You take a look at Dart, very accurate, just like Shedeur in the short and intermediate levels, just like Shedeur, very good with the RPOs and the SROs, but he's a lot better throwing the ball down the field, in my opinion, on those deep types of passes. He's got really great touch and accuracy to the second level. That's the intermediate level of the field. Some really high-end throws there. Also, he's got a lot of pocket toughness as well. He possesses that trait just like Shedeur Sanders does. He'll take a hit, and he will still deliver some high-level throws throws down the field while getting hit. He's also a sneaky good rusher. He kind of reminds me of Sam Howell, where people don't think of him as a good rusher, but he actually really is, and that's kind of the same vibe I get from Jackson Dart. He's got some anticipation flashes on his film. He's got some mental processing flashes as well. And then people in the Ole Miss building absolutely love him. People like defensive players at Ole Miss are talking about this kid's leadership, which is actually pretty rare. But then the negatives with Jackson Dart is that very college-y offense, just like the Colorado offense, where there's lots of screens, there's lots of RPOs, there's lots of manufactured open receivers on his first read, which kind of muddies his NFL projection. Also, there's a lot of predetermined throws on his film where he's throwing it up there based on his pre-snap read, even if there's a rotating safety or whatever, and that leads to some really ugly throws and decisions on film. The pocket presence is not great whatsoever either. Doesn't feel pressure at a high level, which is going to limit his upside. He's got a limited NFL arm. I'd say it's B to B plus for an NFL starter. Can't make every throw in the book. And because of that, I think he does lack elite level upside. And he played his worst football, guys, in the fourth quarter in close football games. So that's not exactly what you want to see either. But I do think based on just pure play style, I think Dart is a better fit for what Pittsburgh wants to run offensively than Shedeur Sanders. I think that he shows some good mental processing chops, at least in moments on his Ole Miss film. And even though, he's very volatile, and I think even the number 21 overall pick might be a little bit of a reach for him, I would rather take him at 21 than Shedeur Sanders. And I think that if the Steelers take him, he will take his rookie lumps. If you think you're going to win a playoff game with Jackson Dart, I think you got another thing coming to you. I think he's going to throw a lot of interceptions his first season, and he's going to have to take some lumps before he eventually maybe turns into like a mid-level starter for an NFL team down the road. So my number one pick here for an early round quarterback is I would like to trade down, get an extra day 2 pick, and take Louisville's Tyler Shuck, who I think has the best film out of anybody in this class that the Steelers can realistically get. I think Cam Ward has slightly better film than Shuck, but I think that Tyler brings a lot of things to the table here that Jackson Dart and Shedeur Sanders just don't. First of all, he's bigger than those guys. He's got more arm talent. I think he's more accurate to all levels of the field. I think he's very polished with his pocket footwork and his base. He doesn't drift into pressure the same way that Dart and Shedeur Sanders have a tendency to. Very quick and clean throwing mechanics. Ball gets out extremely quickly, which leads to the good accuracy and touch to all 3 levels of the field. I think he has the best deep ball out of anybody in this class, which is going to be important to the Pittsburgh Steelers with their 2 deep threat weapons. He avoids sacks. His pressure to sack ratio is less than 10%, which is excellent. His mental processing speed, he gets the ball out fast and at the back of his drop consistently. I think that he recognizes the blitz better than just about anybody in this class as well. He throws with anticipation better than Dart and Sanders do. And he operated a pro-style offense, which I think makes him more NFL ready than guys like Dart and Sanders who ran college-style offenses. And then I think he's an underrated playmaker. Some of Shuck's best plays are when he's rolling out to his left. He's got great downfield vision, and he has incredible arm talent to throw off platform, to throw sidearm type passes. He's got some really high-end tools here, ladies and gentlemen. Plus, he's a plus athlete. Ran a 4.65 at his 6'5", 220-pound frame. So he's got a lot of good stuff that NFL GMs are going to be very, very excited about. But we do have to acknowledge the negatives with Tyler Shuck. All right, he's going to be 26 years old when the Steelers get going week 1 next year. All right, so that's obviously ancient for a starting quarterback in the NFL that is in his rookie season. All right, also the injury history. Broke his clavicle twice, and he broke his fibula once. So there's concerns that his bones might be not the strongest in the world. And that's certainly something you have to take into account as well. And then I do think sometimes he can play, quote-unquote, scared in the pocket. Just like Shedeur Sanders, the Louisville offensive line was terrible last year, guys. So you could tell that when he snapped the ball, he kind of expected pressure to be in his face. So he would throw on his back foot, which would affect his accuracy at times. He would make some really boneheaded decisions with the football as well when pressure got in his face. But he also shows some good moments when he's under pressure as well, so keep that in mind. So the reasons why I prefer Shuck over the rest of the crew here is because, number one, I think he's the most pro-ready quarterback between himself, Jackson Dart, and Shedeur Sanders. I think he's probably the most ready to start an NFL game right now. Number two, I think he has the best physical profile between Dart, Sanders and himself. He's bigger. He's got a stronger arm. I think that he's faster than those guys, and I think that his overall arm talent is better than those two guys as well. Number 3, I think he's the best fit for what the Pittsburgh Steelers want to do on offense. We'll talk about that here in a second. And number 4, Pittsburgh can trade down to like the end of round 1, get an extra day 2 pick, and still get him to be their next franchise-level quarterback here in Pittsburgh. And I do think that when it comes to what the Steelers want to do offensively, not take sacks, not throw interceptions, throw the ball down the field from somebody that's comfortable playing under center. Tyler Shough has done all those things at a high level in college already, all right? So I think if you bring in a guy like Tyler Shough, he fits what the Steelers want to do from day one, and I think that he would have the most success with the Pittsburgh Steelers if he was asked to start in 2025. So the fact that you can still trade down and get him, I think is even an added bonus, all right? You can get that extra day 2 pick to use on a defensive tackle, to use on a running back, whatever you want to use it on. Getting that extra day 2 pick is certainly going to help Tyler Shough out as he begins his Steelers journey. That is, if they do that. And you might be saying at home, but Jack, why not just wait for round 3 to take Tyler Shough? The consensus board has him at number 79 right now, so isn't there a chance he could fall to the Steelers in the 3rd round? First of all, I don't think he makes it to pick number 83. There's a lot of quarterback-needy teams out there. The Browns, the Giants, the Saints, they all pick twice. Round 2 and round 3 before the Steelers pick again in round 3. So the fact that Shough gets there, or the idea that he gets there at number 83, I just don't think it's going to happen. Second of all, if Shough's your guy, if you think that he's your best fit and your best chance to have long-term success at the quarterback position, then go get him, all right? Go get your guy, trade down, because you could probably get him at the end of round 1, get an extra day 2 pick, and then take the guy that you think has the best chance to have success with your football team heading into 2025. But if you have Rodgers, I actually like the strategy of waiting around. And if Shough's there in round 3, which I think would be an ultimate steal, you pair him up with Aaron Rodgers, have Rodgers for a year, Shough learns from him for 1 season, then he's ready to go in 2026. I think that would be a good strategy as well. But again, if you don't have Rodgers, you can't really take any chances. And by the way, if you think that I'm the only one up here saying that Tyler Shough is a good player or that he's worthy of a first-round pick or even that the Steelers are interested in him, let's take a look at some other people here that have thrown some praise Tyler Shough's way. Let's take a look at what Louis Riddick had to say about the Steelers specifically. He says, does Pittsburgh trade down in the draft and maybe pick up a quarterback here late in the 1st round? I was talking to Arthur Smith about Tyler Shough at the Combine. Keep an eye on this. This young man has got unique qualities that would fit what Arthur Smith is trying to do offensively there in Pittsburgh to a T. And then we got guys like Todd McShay from The Ringer who said this. He's bigger than all the other quarterbacks. He's just as, if not more mobile than all the top quarterbacks. His arm's up there with all the top quarterbacks, better than Shedur's. I might take Tyler Shough over Shedeur Sanders. That's Todd McShay saying that. So it's more than just Jack Sperry here, guys. He says, I'm telling you, I would stamp this guy. 3 to 4 years, we look back on this draft. I don't want anybody to be surprised if Tyler Shough is the best or the second best of this year's quarterback class. If you're going to grade him strictly, and this is actually Dane Brugler, not Todd McShay from The Athletic, says if you're going to grade him strictly on the 2024 tape, then Shough goes in the 1st round. He could still end up being in the bottom half of round 1 or 33 to the Browns. That wouldn't be too surprising. And then these talent evaluators seem to be matching up with what the NFL seems to be thinking, because Diana Rossini, also with The Athletic, said this last week. Recently, I spoke with a current NFL head coach who believes Tyler Shough will be the best quarterback in this class. Shough was with the Saints today. So obviously, I'm a big Tyler Shough guy in general. I think that he would be the best fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Take your quarterback in round 1 if all of them are available. Type SS for Shedeur Sanders. Type JD for Jackson Dart. Type TS, not SS, for Tyler Shough. And then JM for Jalen Milroe. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of today's video. I know it was a little bit of a longer one. We went really in depth with the quarterback position for your Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you want more in-depth, nerdy videos like this one, make sure you click that subscribe button right now, because we got extensive Steelers draft coverage all throughout the NFL draft season. All right. So I got my Tyler Shough, my weekly Tyler Shough rant out of the way.
Weekly or daily?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's daily at this point, but I feel strongly. I do feel strongly that he would be the best option for the Steelers, especially if you could trade down and still get him. All right, because I don't love Sanders and I don't love Dart, but I think Shuck has a pretty decent chance to be not only a good player for the Steelers in the short term, but one for the long term as well. $5 from Just Webb's World says, maybe I missed something, but Aaron Rodgers hasn't done enough to warrant this behavior. One ring in 15 years and closer to 50 than 40. I mean, that's not true. He's 41, so he is.
I think he meant closer to 30 than 20.
He is closer to 50 than 30, but yeah, he's definitely closer to 40 than 50. But he's the win now quarterback. I mean, that's the way Mike Tomlin feels about it, man. Like, Mike Tomlin looks at the intelligence, he looks at the arm talent, he looks at all that different stuff. He looks at the playoff experience, he looks at, the turnover-worthy play percentage. Like, Aaron Rodgers fits what the Steelers want to do stylistically. Throw the ball down the field, protect the football, playoff experience, all this different stuff that Mike Tomlin cherishes. Aaron Rodgers has it, which is why they're trying to go get him. So we can disagree with Mike Tomlin's decision-making here, but it's pretty obvious Tomlin really wants Rodgers to be his quarterback. $5 from Chris. His Jack and Coop helped me out here. Mason Rudolph has played better than any Steelers quarterback since Ben, and we are simping for Rodgers. Why? Draft Shuck in the third.
I think Russell Wilson probably holds that award, so to say.
Russell Wilson played better than Mason Rudolph. Now, here's the thing, all right? I think people get a little bit clouded on this because they saw Mason come in
and lead us to the playoffs.
They saw a 3-0 finish to the year, right? And they're like, well, he played better than all of them, right? Well, you have to put it into the context that he played the Bengals, who ranked 30th in defense that year, the Seahawks, who ranked 31st in defense that year, and then the Ravens backups. And he barely beat the Ravens backups in the season finale. Did not play well in that game. All right, and I think that, the Seahawks game, it was the defense mostly that was getting that job done. All right, so, and then he goes up against a legit playoff team in Buffalo. He completes like 50% of his passes and plays terribly. All right, and I understand there's snow on the ground and all that different stuff, but like Mason Rudolph is a mid-level backup quarterback, in my opinion. All right, he doesn't provide any mobility whatsoever. He's got a decent arm, not a great arm. He can make decent NFL reads. He's nothing special, all right? So, I appreciate Mason. I think that he's a good backup. I'm happy he's back. But the idea that the Steelers should roll with Mason Rudolph to try and win them a playoff game this year, it's just not going to happen, guys. Or at least it's got a very low percentage of it happening. And if you want the team to be mediocre again, go with Mason Rudolph because the most you're getting is 9 or 10 wins. $10 from Shannon. Appreciate you, Shannon. Says, Aaron has let us all know how interested he is. Draft a quarterback. One of the quarterbacks listed are guaranteed to be a stud. Just a matter. I don't know if it's guaranteed. Look at the 2022 draft, man. Look at all the guys that got drafted in that class. Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Matt Corral. All of them duds. So, I mean, it's definitely not a foregone conclusion that one of these guys that are going to be there at 21 is going to be good. I'll just say that right now. But he says, my gut says Milroe. I mean, Milroe could turn into something really good, but I think if you throw him out there too early, he's going to lose his confidence because he's just not ready. You need to sit him a year or two. I think if you can get Milroe in round 3 with Rodgers on the roster, great. But first round, I think that would be a big, big, big mistake for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That would result in Milroe being put on the field too early and the Steelers, frankly, not being an even worse offense than we're used to at that point. So if you guys want to send in a donation, we greatly appreciate all of your guys' support. We will talk about whatever topic you want us to talk about. If you have something you want to say on Rodgers, about the quarterback class, about who the Steelers should take, let us know. We'll make sure to get you up on screen. Also, we're doing a jersey raffle whenever the Rodgers decision does come down. So if you guys want to get in on that, at Jack-Sperry on Venmo, Captain Jack 19 on Cashapp, or at Captain Jackrabbit, get 2 raffle tickets when you use Venmo, Cashapp, or PayPal. All right, I'm going to hydrate here. Still got over 280 people watching.
Is that vitamin water? Is that vitamin water number 2 on the day?
This is vitamin water number 2 of the day, yes.
I can't judge. I had 2 Celsius today.
So. Well, Celsius is a little bit worse than vitamin water.
No, Celsius is way better for you. 10 calories. No sugar.
Don't they put some like whale paste shit in there that makes it like one of the most unhealthy drinks in the world?
No
have you heard
way.
about that? Yeah, it's like to make it zero sugar or whatever.
Are we spreading fake news on Steelers talk?
I don't know, man. This is just what I've heard, all right? But, I hate to burst your bubble on the Celsius health.
I am a caffeine addict.
You are a caffeine addict.
True.
That is something that we know. By the way, welcome back, Coop, in the chat. Show your love in the chat for
Glad
Mr. Producer Coop. It's good to have him back for sure. Shout out to Jack Lauderay, Captain Cully, and Reed Barkus for helping us out.
Ralph didn't even help. Trader Joey didn't help. What a joke.
He said the Steelers can go fuck off. That's a joke. It's the exact wording Trader Joey said to me about this channel. So F Trader Joey in the chat. Let's get into our second segment of the day here, guys. I think nickel corner is one of the more interesting kind of potential team needs the Steelers might address in this year's NFL draft class. I'll talk about the top ones that I like in this year's class right now. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, we're going to be breaking down the nickel cornerback position in the NFL draft class this year and the guys that I think the Steelers could consider at this really key position for this team. I mean, let's face it, Cam Sutton, Beanie Bishop Jr., Beanie had his moments, but Cam Sutton was absolutely awful. This was a big, big, big problem for the Steelers defense last year. Could they find their solution in the NFL draft? We're going to find out today. But before we get into it, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you want more draft target videos for other positions of need. If you want a wide receiver video, let me know. If you want a defensive tackle video, let me know. If we can get to 500 likes on today's show, we'll do another positional draft target video like this one later this week. So first up here, let's talk about why the Pittsburgh Steelers may draft a nickel player in this year's NFL draft class. Because right now, you look at kind of the way that they've addressed this position, what's kind of the options in-house. You have the UDFA out of West Virginia from last year, Beanie Bishop Jr., showed some good things, had made some big-time interceptions in really big-time moments, but was a little bit of a liability in coverage. Then you got Brandon Echols, who can play in the slot, but he's played more outside in his career, more of a backup level player, in my opinion. Then Deshaun Elliott, who was this team's strong safety last year, can also play in the slot, very versatile player, kind of a chess piece type of player throughout his career. So if you wanted to put him in the slot, you could certainly do that as well. And, I think that, the reason why Pittsburgh would take a nickel is kind of one of two reasons, or both. Number one, they don't believe in the in-house options. They think that Beanie is more of a backup level player. They want Echols to play more of a backup level role instead of a starting role, and they want Deshaun to play at strong safety. Or number two, they find someone who they feel like they can play day one and be a really good starter for them in this NFL draft. So let's start with my first tier of potential nickel defenders here for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this year's draft, which is difference makers. So these are guys that you potentially take in round one to be real difference makers in the middle of your defense. Guys like Cooper DeJean for the Philadelphia Eagles. Guys like Brian Branch for the Detroit Lions. These guys have been taken in round two, not round one, but you've seen the impact that they have had on their respective defenses. Both of these guys are considered some of the best chess piece type of players in the entire NFL so early into their NFL career. So getting a real impact nickel defender can really change your defense. And the Pittsburgh Steelers might be looking to be that next team in line to get a player like this. And lucky for them, I think they have two options, all right? Number one, Malachi Starks. We'll talk about him in a second here out of Georgia. And then Jahdae Barron out of Texas. The numbers on there, by the way, is where they rank on the consensus big board at the time of me recording this video. So we can take a look at Malachi Starks' profile here. I have a round one grade on Starks. And as you guys can see there, the pros category is absolutely stacked. All right, I love his ball skills for a safety. They're really, really good. He's got nickel flexibility, obviously. They had the Georgia coaching staff kind of asked their DBs to play all over the place, deep in the box, nickel, so he's very used to playing in the slot already. He's got incredible foot speed. He's a tight end eraser in man coverage. He's got good length for the position as well, so he can play the ball really, really well. The closing speed is excellent. He's a really good tackler out in space. I think he's got good zone instincts, and then he's really good in man coverage as well. Now, the cons are, I think that, because he's kind of taller and thinner, his ability to take on blocks in the box and be a true strong safety is a little bit limited. But as a nickel corner, as a potential Minkah Fitzpatrick replacement at free safety, I think this guy is just a good football player, all right? And that's kind of the way that you would describe Brian Branch or Cooper DeJean, is that Malachi Starks is just a damn good football player that reads the eyes of the quarterback very well, mans up against wide receivers and tight ends extremely well as well, and can play both deep and he can play in the slot. So you can even use him a little bit as a disguise piece as well. So if you want to have that Cooper DeJean or Brian Branch level impact player, I think Starks can absolutely provide that for your defense. And I really, really like his profile, guys. And the other guy that you could consider is Jahdae Barron out of Texas. Really like his long speed. He ran in the 4.3s at the combine this year. Super physical corner, which is why I think a lot of people see him as kind of like a zone corner, but I actually think he's more of a press man corner. He's got really good press technique, really good ball skills, plays the ball really well, and he's a great tackler too. He brings a lot of physicality to the table, which I love. But I think that his acceleration and closing speed doesn't match the long speed. I think when you play him in off-zone coverage, his route squeeze and ability to close on the route is not what you necessarily look for. I think he likes to grab a lot. So if you're somebody that gets annoyed when Joey Porter Jr. grabs all the time, Jahdae Barron might not be your guy. And he does have shorter arms as well, which might affect his ability to play true outside corner in the National Football League. But I think that with his physicality, his ability to blow up screens, his ability to defend the run as well and almost be like another linebacker in the box for you playing from the slot, I think you could be a really good player from there, guys. And I think that, he certainly has the ability to maybe play outside later in his career, but I think he can be a true difference maker in the slot for the Pittsburgh Steelers if he makes it to you at number 21. So if this is a position you want to prioritize early in the NFL draft, I think Barron would be an excellent fit for what the Steelers want at this position. So let me know, who's the better nickel defender? Who's going to have the better career? Type MS for Malachi Starks or JB for Jahdae Barron. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Game Time. And while I'm talking about Game Time today, go ahead, find that pinned comment at the top of the comment section and answer today's pinned comment. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time. And the NBA playoffs are just getting started. And if you want to experience the energy and the stakes of playoff basketball, you can get great seats at guaranteed low prices with our friends at Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier, all from your phone, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. The Cleveland Cavaliers have locked up the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference this year heading into the playoffs, and you can experience their playoff run in person in the weeks to come, and it's just over a 2-hour drive from Pittsburgh to get there. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. That's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS. That's CHATSPORTS, or it's right down there on the bottom of your screen right now for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So now that we got through kind of the difference-making type of nickels in this class, at least in my opinion, let's talk about the guys that are serviceable, the guys that are going to be able to be good players, in my opinion, in the slot that you can get in the mid-round of this year's NFL draft. We can start here with Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. Then you got Billy Bowman Jr. And by the way, all these numbers, again, are from the consensus big board. Denzel Burke out of Ohio State, Quincy Riley out of Louisville, and then Kobe Bryant out of the Kansas Jayhawks. So let's talk about these guys one at a time here. First, let's talk about Parrish. And I love Parrish's physicality. Already played mostly outside there at Kansas State last year, and he was one of the better parts of that Wildcat defense. You know, he's not necessarily the biggest guy in the world, but he does play very aggressively in man coverage. I think he's got decent zone instincts. But, you know, the thing that really stands out about Parrish is that he's a dog competitor, extremely physical. He's good against the run. He's going to put his face in the fan, even though, you know, he's a little bit smaller. But, you know, he's just a bulldog out there, man. And he's somebody that wants to be good, you know, wants to go out there and be physical, wants to be a team player. And that's just exactly the mentality that Mike Tomlin wants in his slot corner. So watch out for Parrish as a day 2 potential nickel corner. Then you got Bowman, Billy Bowman Jr., out of Oklahoma, who's a great cover player. So if you're looking for somebody that can kind of be the anti-Cam Sutton, where Sutton was so bad in coverage last year, you're not going to have that issue with Billy Bowman Jr. He was one of the standouts in one-on-one coverage at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama this year, and on film, he's also very, very good. Now, he's got big tackling issues, all right, and that's usually pretty big for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They want guys that can tackle, and Bowman has issues with that. But if you're looking for somebody that's going to fix the coverage issues that you had at the slot cornerback position last year, Bowman could certainly do that for you. Denzel Burke out of Ohio State, guy with a ton of experience in college, all right, national champion, all that different stuff. He's an unremarkable athlete, so his upside is severely limited. But he's a trustworthy player that, you teach him what to do. He's going to be in the right spot. And you don't have to worry about him too much. Quincy Riley is kind of a volatile type of player where he's got long arms. He can play outside or inside. And he's got great ball skills, all right? So he's the type of guy that is going to give up some yards. He's not going to be phenomenal in coverage, especially early in his career. But kind of like Beanie Bishop Jr., he's going to make some big plays and some big interceptions in some big moments. So honestly, I don't love the Riley fit because you already got a guy like this in Beanie Bishop Jr. who's more volatile. But it's certainly another option to consider. And then somebody that, is coming out as an outside corner, not a nickel guy, but I think somebody that could really make a successful transition to the slot is Kobe Bryant out of Kansas. And I love the way this kid plays. He's a shit talker. He's super physical. And he loves to get in your face when he's beating you on a rep, man. I love that dog mentality that he brings to the table. But he's just so tiny. He's like 170 pounds. He doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table in terms of size, but if you put that dog mentality into the slot, I think that he's got sticky coverage ability. I think he's got quick feet, and I think that he could be a really good slot in this league if he commits to it. And I think that he has the exact mentality that head coach Mike Tomlin wants in that slot position. Another guy to keep your eye on here is Justin Wally out of Minnesota, who is expected to kind of be more of a slot type of player. He had a top 30 draft visit with the Pittsburgh Steelers actually today. He's currently slated on the consensus big board at 232nd overall. So watch out for Wally to be somebody to consider in round 6 or round 7 for the Pittsburgh Steelers here, if he's still there, if they haven't addressed this nickel cornerback position at that point in the draft. So another possibility here when it comes to addressing the secondary is that I think we all know the Steelers need to draft a player in the secondary, but they don't necessarily have to go nickel corner, right? They still have Beanie Bishop Jr. They have Brandon Echols that can play this position. And more, we're seeing 3 safety packages dominate the NFL. So is it possible that instead of a nickel corner, we see the Steelers take Nick Emenwari out of South Carolina or Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame and really embrace the 3 safety type of revolution that we're seeing around the National Football League? We've seen Mike Tomlin really dabble in these 3 safety packages before, especially when Brian Flores was still here, and we've seen Flores turn his 3 safety defense into one of the best in football. So maybe that's the plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and maybe they don't take a true nickel corner in this year's class. But what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Which position would you want to take in the secondary if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers this year? Type N if you want a true nickel slot cornerback, somebody that's a little bit undersized, or do you want somebody a little bit more safety-esque? Do you want a safety? Type S for safety. Could always put Deshaun Elliott as kind of like your pseudo slot player. Pretty darn good in the slot as well. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section, and that will be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. We talked about nickel corners today. We're going to be talking about more positions as we get closer and closer and closer to the NFL draft in just a few short days. So click that subscribe button right now to stay up to date on all the latest. All right, our cuts are done for the day here, Mr. Coop. Now we can just talk some Steelers football.
Oh, yeah.
And Just Webb's rolled $5. Says no, Malachi Moore or Nick Emenwari. They could replace Minka at safety if he gets hurt, and they can play the nickel if needed. Yeah, man, Emenwari.
He's not going to play free safety, right?
He played free safety at South Carolina. I think that's what he does best.
Really?
Because that's where he played with the Gamecocks.
You think he projects there in the league?
He actually sucks as a strong safety right now.
Interesting.
He's terrible with run diagnostics. He doesn't take on blocks very well even for a guy that's 220 pounds.
I think with his
he's not very aggressive.
I think with his athleticism and physical profile, strong safety would be his best spot.
Yeah, he kind of projects as like a Jeremy Chin type of player that's going to play like true box safety,
Yeah.
but he sucks at run defense, so it's tough to put him at true box safety.
enough.
He's actually really good in coverage, which is why they played him at free safety there at South Carolina. And, I think he can play in the nickel. And if they wanted to just go big nickel, and that's just kind of the defense. I mean, he's absolutely capable of doing that. He's a really good tackler out in space. So maybe that's the plan for him and Worry. And then Malachi Moore's another guy that can kind of be versatile as well. So, I mean, I think Just Webb's World is probably spamming those S's for safety. And, hey, if the Steelers take a safety and they want to embrace the big nickel revolution that's happening here in the NFL, I'm perfectly okay with that. All right, I'm perfectly okay with that. $2 from Raymond. Says Mason Rudolph, backup Rodgers by 23. What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what this means, Raymond. Says draft Shuck or Sanders.
I think he's saying just pass on Rodgers.
So is he saying Rodgers signs by the 23rd or you're done with him?
Oh, maybe, because that's when the draft is.
Because the draft
right?
is the 24th.
Yeah,
so maybe he's saying Rodgers has to sign by the 23rd,
yeah.
and if not, draft Shuck or Sanders.
Yeah, I don't hate that plan.
Yeah,
I mean, they have to take a QB early if Rodgers isn't on the roster.
Yeah, and the only exception to that is if they have a handshake agreement where he's like, I will sign with you guys if you don't take a quarterback.
Even if you have a handshake agreement, he could still bone you and just be like, haha, just kidding, not signing with you.
Dude, I would fucking hate him if that ends up being the case. But like do I blame him necessarily for for wanting to know exactly what this roster is going to look like? No, not necessarily. I mean, we saw what happened with Kirk Cousins last year, right? Where he signed on and then they drafted a quarterback in the top 10 and he's got this big multi-year contract and now he's boned where he doesn't even get to decide where he plays next year. Like, Rodgers does not want to be in that situation. And by the way, I'm pretty sure Rodgers doesn't want to sign on right now, get to the draft, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? We're trading George Pickens. And maybe he'll be sitting there like, wait, what the fuck? I don't want you guys to trade Pickens. What the hell is this? I think Rodgers wants to make sure that this is the optimistic reading. It's very possible he just doesn't want to play for this team. But the optimistic reading is he wants to see what their draft strategy is. He wants to make sure that they're taking players to help him and the Steelers this year win.
I do just think it's funny that on the last game of the season, Rodgers said he's not going to make anyone wait.
Yeah, he literally goes, I'm not going to hold anyone up.
Here we are. What's going on, Aaron?
Almost a week from the draft. What are we doing, Aaron?
We're a month into free agency.
I mean,
what a joke.
I mean, at least, listen, man, even if it's a report from Jordan Schultz saying Aaron Rodgers is not interested in playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Steelers will look for other options.
Sure.
I would be okay with that. At least it's a resolution.
At least we would know.
At least we would know. And by the way, if that happens, we will go live when we get that resolution, no matter what, whether it's with the Steelers or not. But I don't know, man. It's just, we are 10 days away from the NFL draft.
And we have no answer.
It's tough,
By
man.
the way, the 17 draft prospects who will attend the draft,
Jalen Milroe in there? Jackson
Dart is in there. Jalen Milroe is in there.
Okay.
Cam Ward, obviously. So Jalen Milroe is is in the green room round 1? Or is this just in general? I guess it's just in general.
Yeah. I think it's just in general. Listen, man, the NFL invited Malik Willis to the draft. He went in round 3. All right, they invited Will Levis to the draft. He went in round 2. Like, just because they invite Milroe doesn't mean he's going to get drafted in round 1. Now, what would be hilarious if the Cleveland Browns trade up for him? How funny would that be?
That would be something.
That would be hilarious if the Cleveland Browns traded up for him, man.
Let's get to Bob Lock Soupy, and then we'll call it a day here.
Sounds good. Oh, my goodness. So like I said, guys, my preferred solution is going to continue to be Tyler Shuck. If you disagree with me on him, if you think that, the injury history is too much or if the age is too much, I completely get it.
Bob Lock, I tell him this every day.
Says, I've been gaslighting myself for months. Well, I mean, what?
It has been months.
Has it been multiple months?
Yes, since January.
It has not been since January.
Yes, it has.
No, I literally went back to see the first time we talked about Rodgers on a video. It was like February 18th.
So it's months then because it's April 15th.
It has not gotten to 2 months yet. And by the way, I was 100% right when I said Tomlin was going to target him. I was 100.
You were.
I was 100% right about that. I've just been waiting for this answer here, and it just hasn't come. So, I hope that it happens eventually. I do think he gives the Steelers the best chance to have success in the short term still. All right, and if he chooses to sign with the Steelers before the month of May, I will still be happy and excited to watch him play for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year.
And whatever his decision is.
But if he doesn't want to play here, and he waits multiple days after the draft, after all the information about the 2025 Steelers has been revealed to him,
kick rocks.
Kick rocks, man. We'll take our rookie quarterback. We'll take Mason. Maybe we'll trade for Kirk Cousins, and we'll make do with the best that we have. But the last thing I want this team to do, Coop, is wait all summer for him. And wait for him to wait out a better situation elsewhere, and then maybe, just maybe, he begrudgingly says, well, there's no other opportunities. I guess I'll go play for the shitty Steelers.
And then I tell him to go fuck himself.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm telling him to go kick rocks after this month. Yeah. All right? Because, if he wants to wait to make sure that this roster is, to his liking or whatever by the end of the draft, I guess I can kind of understand that. But, if we're 4 days after the draft and we get to May 1st and, he still doesn't know what he wants to do, spoiler alert, he knows what he wants to do. It's just not to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if he doesn't want to come here, I don't want him. Plain and simple.
F off.
All right, if he doesn't want to come here, F off. We'll make do with somebody else. All right, even though it's not a great situation, we want volunteers, not hostages.
No doubt about it.
All right, and is there still a possibility that he's a volunteer and he wants to come here? He just wants to make sure that he knows exactly the roster he's dealing with? Sure, that's a possibility. But it's also very much a possibility he just wants to play for the Vikings or 49ers, and he's willing to just string the Steelers along all summer before he eventually says, fine, I'll just play for the shitty Steelers at the start of training camp. That can't be allowed to happen, all right? So for me, I'm giving him to the end of the month. If he doesn't make a decision by the draft, I'm drafting a quarterback, and if he doesn't sign by the end of the draft, I'm saying we're not signing you, period. We rescind our offer. Go kick rocks. Go have fun, sitting on the couch waiting for J.J. McCarthy to have another meniscus injury. That's what I'd say to him. So that's where I'm at.
That's where I'm at, too. All right, we have a little company outing here.
Yes, we do. We actually do. We have a company outing here where everybody at Chat Sports is going to go have a good time. It's mandatory, so we do need to get out of here, unfortunately. But I do appreciate all of your guys' support.
We'll see you Thursday?
What's that?
We'll see you Thursday?
So, yes. Quick announcement here, guys, before you sign off. We are planning on doing a live Chat Sports mock draft on Thursday.
Yes.
It's going to start at 2 p.m. Eastern. All right, so 2 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Oh, people are asking about the boot chug. Captain Cully is not here today either, guys. All right, so Captain Cully and I will do our boot chug.
We'll get it done.
We'll get it done this week because we're going to go live on Thursday, and then we'll go live again probably on Friday to get more cuts done. All right, so either Thursday or Friday, I'll have Captain Cully come on. He's still not at work, so hopefully he gets better soon. But so everybody, wish Captain Cully the best wishes down there in the chat. We appreciate all of your guys' support.
Good.
We will see you guys next time. See you on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And until then, guys, here we go, Steelers.